What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with Tech Daily, and in this video, we are checking out the Samsung Galaxy M51. Now, this has easily been one of the most highly requested phones that you guys wanted me to check out. It's actually been out for a few weeks now, but it's quickly become one of the more popular new mid-range phones from Samsung, at least outside the US. And this device really has quite a few unique features, like an absolutely massive 7,000 milliamp battery that make it stand out from the obviously very crowded M series and A series lineup. So I'll go over everything you need to know about this phone. I'll offer up some of my thoughts on where exactly this device fits in the lineup. And without further ado, first things first, let's just go ahead and unbox it and see what all comes inside the package. While we're checking out the box here, I just want to quickly mention that the M51 right now retails for around $350. It's going to depend, of course, where in the world you're located though, and if you're interested, I'll leave some links down below in the video description to where you can get this phone at its cheapest current prices. Sliding off the lid here, the first thing we see is the phone itself, and right away I think you can tell this M51 looks pretty similar to a lot of other mid-range devices that have come along this year. We'll set it aside for just a second, and digging a little deeper inside the box, we do get a few included accessories. The first two are the USB-C to USB-C charging cable and the super fast charging 25-watt wall adapter. And that's great to see that this phone not only supports the faster charging standard, but also that Samsung included this big charging brick in the box. Also thrown in are a pair of Samsung's wired earbuds, and these are the buds with the rubber ear tips and the regular old headphone jack connector. As far as included accessories, that's everything we get, but just a quick note, of course, inside the lid of the box, you'll also find the SIM ejector tool and a small collection of paperwork, but no clear phone case or anything like that included. So once again, here is the Samsung Galaxy M51 itself. And like I said, if you've seen most of the other M series or A series phones already this year, this device is going to look pretty familiar. But right away, there are a few things that separate it from the pack. The M51 is a fairly large 6.7-inch phone, which puts it on the higher end of screen sizes. It's the same size as the A71, for example, and it's a little bigger even than the S20 FE. And for those of you interested in a smartphone with a massive display, that's exactly what you're going to get here. There's a ton of screen real estate to work with, obviously, but just keep in mind its sheer size is a lot to handle, and it may not necessarily be the most comfortable setup for everyone. On the plus side, unlike some other mid-range Samsung devices, this M51 has the complete refresh and redesign with the Infinity O camera cutout, super slim bezels, and not much of a bottom chin at all. So the screen to body ratio here is super high at almost 87%, and compared to something like the M21 or M31, this M51 looks much more modern and premium across the front. Size-wise, here is what the M51 looks like up against its A-series counterparts, the 6.5-inch A51, and I just want to give you guys a quick peek here. I will go more in-depth with this comparison in a separate video, but you can see the M51 is quite a bit bigger, and it's significantly thicker too. It's kind of tough to tell on camera, but the M51 is easily one of the thickest and chunkiest phones I've had my hands on so far this year. It's 9.5 millimeters or more than 1/3 of an inch thick, and you feel every bit of that in the hand. It is a dense device, and that also contributes to it feeling very heavy too. And I'll talk about why it's so thick in just a second, but you can see that the M51 is also a mostly plastic build with that shiny, glossy plastic rear housing. There's no like rainbow effect or even any designs or patterns, which I think is a little bit of a shame, though it still looks plenty nice. Interestingly enough though, the edges, while they feel like metal, aren't a shiny, polished chrome finish. It's mostly just a dull sheen, which again isn't bad. It's just something where the finish isn't really conveying any sort of premium vibe, which is kind of a shame. Taking a look around at everything else, on the left side, you've got the SIM and SD card tray for expandable storage. On the right side, there's the volume buttons and the power button, which actually doubles as a fingerprint sensor here, which is sort of unique to this device. Down below, there's the headphone jack, the USB-C charging port, and just the one single downward firing speaker setup. Unfortunately, no stereo sound on this phone, and here's just a quick sound sample so you can get an idea of what we're working with. Around back, there's actually an impressive array of camera lenses, which I'll go over in a minute, but let's go back to that fingerprint sensor. Now, this side-mounted power button fingerprint reader is an interesting addition to this phone. It's not something we've had on any of the A-series devices, and most of the M-series phones in the past have had a rear fingerprint sensor. We did see this new setup on the M51S, and now the M51 gets it again, and I have to say, as much as I do like the rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, I think I like this setup even more. The placement feels pretty good, and I gotta be honest, I did add my fingerprint twice just to make sure I was getting it to read as quickly and as accurately as possible. But it seems pretty solid for my initial tests here, and all in all, I think this was the right move. I do like the change. The phone also retains Face Unlock, of course, too, which for whatever reason seems to be maybe a little slower than I expected on this device in particular. But I think with both biometric options paired together, we can get into this phone plenty fast. Okay, so let's talk specs. And the first most important thing I want to mention is the huge battery inside this phone. The M51 packs a 7,000 milliamp battery inside, which is just crazy big. And that's also why this phone is so thick. By comparison, the M31S has a 6,000 milliamp battery, the S20 FE has a 4,500 milliamp battery, and the regular A51 had just a 4,000 milliamp battery. Now, I'm obviously going to put this phone to the test in the coming days to really see what kind of use I can get out of it. But just by size and capacity alone, I'm really suspecting that I should be able to get 2 days of use, at least under normal circumstances. And if you feel like you want to maybe donate some of that extra battery power from this phone to a different device, this M51 actually has a reverse charging feature as well that lets you utilize the included USB-C cable with the phone acting as a power bank to charge up something else, which is really cool. Overall, I think this is the phone to get if you want one of the longest lasting devices out there. There just aren't too many other phones available right now that even come close to this kind of battery capacity. Now, in addition to the monster power plant, this phone also has a really good set of internals as well. Samsung packed this device with the Snapdragon 730G chipset and Adreno 618 GPU, which was a great move. And they paired it with 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM. I think overall, not only do you have a lot to work with here, but you don't have to worry about any issues with the Exynos chipsets or outdated CPUs. I think what's inside this phone is exactly what this phone deserved, and it's the right kind of specs for the money too. Couple that with Android 10 and the One UI 2.1 update already on this phone, and I think you've got a great combination with a lot of potential. While some of the other M and A series phones have sort of been held back, I think, by specs that maybe weren't the best choice, I think Samsung got it 100% right with this M51, and I really have no complaints. I'm excited to use this phone and put it to the test to see what all it can handle, but the bottom line is just that the specs inside this device, I think, make it one of the better buys right now in the Samsung A and M series lineups, and as a long-term investment too. And most importantly, this combination of specs, namely that 730G processor paired with the massive battery I mentioned earlier, means that everything should be far better optimized for performance and longevity, and overall should yield you one of the best performing phones in this price range. Up front, the 6.7-inch display is a familiar Super AMOLED Plus panel that comes in at a resolution of 2400 by 1080 and packs in around 393 pixels per inch. With the viewing experience, while we don't necessarily get anything new or special, everything still looks great here. It's the same bold, bright, and very colorful Samsung display that's found on the other higher-end A-series phones like the A71. And I think this device falls just under the price threshold for warranting a high refresh display anyway, so what we end up with is right for this device. And And that huge screen, like I said earlier, is definitely great. With this phone, we get that more refreshed design too, the slim bezels, the camera cutout rather than a notch, and not much distracting from the viewing experience. So all in all, you've got a very fresh, very modern, but still very familiar screen. And the same can actually be said about the camera setup here too. Around back, this M51 gets the 64 megapixel main lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro, and 5 megapixel depth sensor. And that's going to be paired with the 32 megapixel selfie lens up front. Really, all of these camera specs are basically what we've seen on some other phones already, like the A71, for example, but it's still nice to see all of that brought over to this device. With the features and shooting modes, absolutely nothing is missing here from what I can tell. You've got night mode, pro controls, slow-mo, and plenty more. And diving a little deeper, you can also see the M51 can shoot 4K video, both with the rear and front lenses, so that's really awesome. You've got that super high 64 megapixel shooting mode, of course, which you should absolutely utilize. And here is what we get with just a quick selfie test. Now, I do think I had a little higher expectations considering the setup. It looks to me like this phone maybe isn't the best selfie taker in its price range, which is sort of surprising. I think it has a little trouble with portrait pics and might be lacking in details, but we will put it to the test further and see what exactly the kinds of selfies it can yield. So there you go. Those are my initial thoughts and first impressions with the Samsung Galaxy M51. And I have to say, there's obviously a lot to like about this phone. You get a really great modern design, an absolutely massive battery, all the right specs, and a decent package with everything else thrown in there too. I will say that it is a shame, once again, this M series device likely won't ever make it to the US, but for the rest of the world, you guys have a really nice option here. But what do you guys think of this phone? Is it something that you're even considering? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, of course. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow Tech Daily on Twitter and subscribe to the Tech Daily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.